Moweni, and welcome to this episode of Fresh Perspective. Today we'll be talking about how to take responsibility for a mistake or mistakes and the problems our mistakes create. So let me quickly share this. My wife is an artist, and often when she shows someone her work, they will say something like, "You're so creative. I'm not creative at all," or "I wish I was as creative or that creative." But there's an area where we are all very creative. We can all be super creative when it comes to finding excuses for a mistake or for problems in our lives. I mean, let's face it, we all make mistakes, we all slip up, we all fail to do the things we know we should do, or we totally excel in things that we know we shouldn't do. You know, we overachieve in those areas. And when we keep on making the same mistakes, we develop problems. And repeating the mistake and finding excuses for it creates even bigger problems. And we've all been very creative in finding excuses for our mistakes and problems. I know I have. And it basically sounds like this. If only then. If only this and this didn't work this way, then I would be able to do X, Z, and Y. If only that person wasn't like that, then I wouldn't do this. You can fill in the blank as many times as you want. And if you've been following this series, you recognize this, right? It's the victim mentality. So being a master or a victim is not something that we are permanently in, that mentality. We kind of move from the one to the other. And I think for me, growth means to move into the master mentality more often and stay there for longer, if that makes sense to you. So also, for me, an excuse is about excusing myself of the responsibility for a mistake and its consequences. But you know what's even more powerful and harmful than finding excuses is blaming. So it's passing on the responsibility to someone else. It's letting go of the responsibility. So it's not my fault. So it's not my problem. So it's not my responsibility. And this is definitely not a way to solve problems. M. Scott Peck said that you can't solve a problem by saying it's not my problem. You know, you have to take responsibility for the problem, even if it's not your fault, which is kind of a whole different podcast just on taking responsibility for things, even when it's not your fault. So we blame other people. We blame the world and the way things work. We call things unfair. We blame God and the universe. And if you're Rodney Seal, you blame rock music. I don't know how many of you will understand that reference, but if you go Google Rodney Seal, you'll find out he's a guy that was very outspoken, especially in the 90s, about the negative effect of listening to rock music and, you know, the messages that you'll find in music when you listen to tracks backwards and things like that. Which reminds me of a quote from Dave Grohl, which kind of links to what Rodney Seal was talking about. He says something like this, Dave Grohl, the guy from Foo Fighters, if you don't know. If you don't know who Dave Grohl is, I mean, please don't listen to this podcast. Anyway, so Dave Grohl says, if you listen to Nickelback backwards, you'll hear messages from Satan. But even worse, if you listen to it forwards, you'll hear Nickelback. Anyway, I think that's funny. But right, so we blame all kinds of different things and people, but all of the things that we blame combined, if it's life and God and other people and whatever, all of those combined is less harmful than when we blame ourselves. So when we blame ourselves, that's very harmful. And maybe you're going, what? Wait. Aren't we supposed to take responsibility for mistakes? Yes, but blaming for me is not the same as taking responsibility. Because blaming sounds something like this. Blaming says, I'm so stupid for doing X. I'm so selfish for forgetting Y. Or I made this mistake because I'm lazy. I made that mistake because I'm not disciplined. Or I have this problem because I'm ignorant or whatever. So it's like blaming yourself and putting yourself down, which is not the same as taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is about finding reasons for a mistake, not finding excuses and blaming. Because when you find a reason for a mistake, then you can find a solution that will address that reason you found, that'll combat the reason you find. So here's an example. I'm going to try and explain it with this example, and hopefully this helps to clear it up and show you what I mean. So here's the example. I'm so selfish for forgetting my friend's birthday. So that's the blaming. Then becomes, I forgot my friend's birthday because, so you're looking for a reason. I don't pay attention to what date it is, and I don't have a calendar reminder set. So this is actually an example from my own life. Not only forgot my friend's birthday, but also my brothers and my mom's and so forth. Even almost forgot my own. So, which shows you how important birthdays are to me. Okay, birthdays are important to me. I just don't prioritize them the way I should. So here's what I did. I can now actually set a reminder. I can address the reason I found by adding structure. So I set a calendar reminder that helps me remember that, but also I pick a time to contact my friend or send a message. So blame also asks questions that help us find excuses, right? So instead of finding reasons. So here's what it sounds like. Why don't I ever have money? Why can't I ever lose any weight? So unconsciously, you'll create excuses or blame. So why don't I ever have money? I'm not good with money. I don't get paid enough. Everything is so expensive. You hear the blame and the excuses there. So examples of better questions are, when it comes to, specifically money, when is a good time for me to sit down for 2 hours and create a proper budget? And a follow-up question might be, how will I manage that budget? How will I keep track of it? And address that reason until you have a solution. Don't just think about it and let it go. Be diligent, okay? Another question, how can I increase my income? So which skills can I develop or attain that will make me more valuable to an employee? Or what business opportunities can I pursue? How can I create another stream of income for myself? And listen, I understand that life's not always this clear cut. But distinguishing between these different approaches helps me to take more responsibility more often. And simplified, it boils down to this. Am I working with an excuse or a reason when I'm addressing a problem or a mistake? And the second one is, am I blaming or claiming responsibility? And I can only claim responsibility if I found the reason and I address the reason, right? So here's what I want you to try and do, okay? Think of an area in your life that's become a problem. Is it your health? Is it your relationships? Is it your finances, anxiety or stress? Now, can you identify the mistake or mistakes you are repeating that creates this problem? Think about that for a moment. Now, write down the excuses you've been using up to now. Do not take responsibility for that. Okay, also write down who you've blamed and how. If you blamed yourself, what reasons can you identify that you can then claim responsibility for? Instead of putting yourself down, find the reasons and claim responsibility. Take action on the reasons you find to counter them. Okay? And lastly, write down 5 good questions that will help you find solutions instead of excuses. Okay, my dear friends, I hope I've been able to properly explain this. While I was recording this, my son walked in and came to sit on my lap, and my wife walked in and wanted to ask me a question. So the 10 or 15 minutes it took me to record this was actually interrupted a bit. So I'll sign off now. And hopefully I've been able to stay on track throughout this. And yeah, I like to do this in one take. It feels more natural to me than editing and copying and whatever. Anyway, so I hope this helps you. It's really helped me a lot to take responsibility more often. And hopefully I've been able to explain it in a decent way, and it helps me and continues to help me, and I hope that it does the same for you. And if you feel or identify an aspect of mistakes and problems and responsibility related to that I don't address here, please send it to me. I will do some research for us and see if I can find a fresh perspective that I can share with you and everyone else listening or reading the newsletters. So, but also let me know, maybe you have a fresh perspective on this. I also like to hear from you if that's you. So you can send me an email to francois@vierdoring.co.za. Right, that's it from me today. Remember, if you change your perspective, you can transform your life. All right, much love. Bye-bye.